Ciao Fabri, welcome back in the
Ciao
podcast.
guys.
Today we speak about some secrets, some behind of the scenes of what's happening, all the latest on the transfer window here on Men in Blazers. As always, we touch on the points, some points. We start with a surprising one maybe for some of the listeners. It's Kevin De Bruyne and Napoli. What's the latest?
Yeah, because Napoli will be ambitious on the market. It's not just what the president Aurelio De Laurentiis said after winning the Serie A title with Antonio Conte as a coach, and let's see what happens also with Conte, but also because Napoli behind the scenes are already working on several deals, calling for a top striker. They made a bid for Jonathan David. They called for Darwin Nunez. So Napoli will be very busy this summer in several positions. And one of them is the creative midfielder, and they are really advancing on a deal to sign Kevin De Bruyne. Is a big battle with Chicago Fire. Chicago Fire in MLS presented a very important proposal to the player already in April. That proposal is still on the table. Then Napoli improved their bid in the recent hours with a 3-year deal on the table for Kevin De Bruyne, 6 million euros net first season, 6 million euros net second season, 5 million euros net third season, and then a separate signing fee for Kevin De Bruyne. So the player will now take his time. From Monday, he will meet with his agents. He will be with his family, really important for his decision, and then make a decision on what he wants to do next. With Napoli and Chicago Fire pushing, we are not aware of any interest from Liverpool or Premier League clubs in general are not in negotiations with this Bruyne at this point. So let's see between Napoli and Chicago who will be able to convince the player. But Napoli in the last 24 hours have been really pushing, improving their proposal.
And there will be a big one. Also, in our last podcast, we spoke about Florian Wirtz and the latest and Wirtz and Liverpool. The fact that he decided to pick a club like Liverpool over, for example, Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, but there is another player who did something different. So I'm talking about Jonathan Tah. It's one of your exclusive stories who decided to join Bayern Munich.
Yeah, and it's a done deal. We can say here we go for this one because Jonathan Tah in the next days will undergo medical test, sign the contract as new Bayern player till 2029. So 4-year deal for Jonathan Tah. Between the clubs, they will need to speak, Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern, because Bayern want to have Jonathan Tah already for the Club World Cup. So there will be a compensation fee to be discussed. And then Jonathan Tah will be a new Bayern player. But it's interesting because Barcelona were interested in Jonathan Tah. And many people thought that the deal was already done between November and December for Jonathan Tah to join Barca as a free agent. Deal was advanced verbally, but never done or signed. Why? Because Barcelona in January decided to keep Ronald Araujo instead of selling him to Juventus, extend his contract. Eric Garcia had to go to Como, 8 million euros. The deal was almost done. And then Hansi Flick decided to keep the player, and now Deco is working to extend his contract. So Barcelona changed their strategy on the center backs, and this is why now signing Jonathan Tah was probably not what they really needed in this moment. So Jonathan Tah decided to go to Bayern. Everything is accepted, is done, and new center back for Vincent Kompany.
Bayer Leverkusen, of course, are going into the big revolution this summer because of Xabi Alonso left the club. And also they need to appoint a new manager. And Erik Ten Hag emerged as the main candidate, the strongest candidate for the job. There were other candidates. Why they decided to go for him?
Yeah, many rumors also on Cesc Fabregas, but from what I heard, Cesc Fabregas never opened the doors to a move to Bayer Leverkusen, so it was very strong in the media as a rumor, but in reality was never something really concrete between Fabregas and Bayer Leverkusen. Erik Ten Hag did the opposite. Erik Ten Hag immediately opened the doors to Bayer Leverkusen, so he will be the new coach unless something crazy happens. I expect Erik Ten Hag to sign as new Bayer Leverkusen coach in the next days, so a matter of short time. 2-year contract, 2027. He had the possibility to go back to Ajax to replace Francesco Farioli after the crazy unlucky end of the season they had at Ajax in Eredivisie. They wanted Ten Hag back, but he decided to put that opportunity in standby, to give total priority to Bayer Leverkusen, and now the agreement Ten Hag-Bayer Leverkusen is really almost completed, almost done, just waiting for the contracts to be signed, but everything will be okay from what I'm hearing. And so despite the rumors on Fabregas, also Arbeloa, who was never really close to becoming a new Bayer Leverkusen coach, there was a candidate. I can't say who today. Maybe one day I will tell you. So remember of this podcast, but it's a name who was never in the media. But Erik Ten Hag will be the new head coach. And so good luck to Ten Hag, who is back to work from Man United now to Bayer Leverkusen.
We keep that for our podcast in September that we always do about players that didn't
Yeah.
end up in another club. And talking about players and legends in this case, there was the farewell of Luka Modric at Real Madrid on Saturday. It was really emotional. I don't know if you agree, probably one of the biggest emotional
Yeah.
farewells in the history of the sport. Why Real Madrid decided to part ways? Why there was this separation in the summer?
Yeah, it's important to clarify that Luka Modric didn't want to leave Real Madrid. That's the reality. But I'm not saying that. I'm not telling that. And also, Luka Modric is not feeling that in a negative way. It's just his desire. It's the reality. Luka Modric, around March, April, May, always made clear to Real Madrid that he wanted to continue. He wanted to stay. It was not about the salary, the financial side. It was all about sports. He wanted to play football at Real Madrid for one more season. Then Real Madrid, in a very honest and clear way, told Luka Modric that they wanted to move on and they wanted to start a new era, younger era, with a new coach, Xabi Alonso, with a new talent in the back, like Din Neusen, who already joined from Bournemouth. So it's a new point of view at Real Madrid. They want to start something new. And so Luka Modric accepted that decision on very good terms. The relationship is fantastic with Florentino Perez, with all the people at the club. So no bad vibes at all. Modric respected that decision from Real Madrid. And so now let's see what he's going to do, because Modric will take his time. Now there is the Club World Cup. So Modric is fully focused on that because he will still play for Real Madrid. He said goodbye to Bernabeu. Then he will play this final competition with Real Madrid. And then in the next months, he will make a decision on his future.
Over the week, there was the final, the Europa League final. It was really incredible to see the outcome also, no? The Tottenham winning and Man United losing. A big disappointment for the club, for the fan base, for all the project of Ruben Amorim that started in November 2024. Why is he staying? First of all, is he staying? And then why they decided to go on together?
Yeah, the reaction after that final, to be honest, from Man United is obviously disappointment, because you can only be disappointed and sad to see that performance, losing the trophy, losing Champions League, losing money. So it was a disaster for Man United on the financial and sporting point of view. But at the same time, already 2-3 hours after the final, so already during the night and then in the morning, on Thursday morning, the message coming from Man United was very clear. They want to continue with Ruben Amorim. They want to back Ruben Amorim. They want to support Ruben Amorim. Then there's going to be time soon to make it also in terms of new signings, because when you want to support the manager, you need also to do that in terms of new players, new faces, trust the system, trust the coach. But this is what they want to do at Man United. That's the idea. That's the vision. So let's wait for this summer transfer window. But for example, remember what I already told you. Cunha is a player wanted by Man United, but especially wanted by Ruben Amorim, and they're expecting to join Man United. So these sort of moves, they want to move on from a bad season, but with Ruben Amorim as a coach. So the message is clear. He's staying despite a poor final, a terrible moment in general, a terrible season in general. For Man United, they will continue and trust Ruben Amorim.
Talking about the players, we will talk definitely in the coming weeks about the new ideas, what the players will happen with some of them. But what can we say about Alejandro Garnacho's future?
Yeah, on Garnacho, it's also important to mention that this was already a situation in a complicated way around January, because in the January transfer window, Alejandro Garnacho had the possibility to leave Manchester United. It didn't happen because they were not able to reach an agreement on all the conditions, salary, transfer fee, and all the rest. So this is why Chelsea, Napoli were not able to close the deal. But Garnacho already in January was possibly leaving Manchester United. Now it's over. After the comments of Ruben Amorim, after the comments of Alejandro Garnacho after the game, it's very clear that the vibes are not good between the coach and the player. And so it's probably time to move on. So my expectation is for Ruben Amorim to send a clear message, and for Alejandro Garnacho to leave Manchester United in the summer transfer window. So I think this is going to be one of the names we will see on our podcast in the next weeks.
Moving to the other side of Manchester City, of course, and let's talk about two players in particular. We start with Jack Grealish. Also, there was a message here coming from Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, there was a clear message because, as reported by the Telegraph, Jack Grealish is not part of the squad for the final game in Premier League, a really important game for Man City, obviously, for Champions League. And also, in general, the feeling internally at the club is that there is a concrete possibility to see Jack Grealish leaving in the summer transfer window. Man City want to add one more midfielder, Tijani Reinders. Man City want to add one more creative player. Gibbs White is in the list for sure. We already said that they left the conversations for Wirtz. But in general, Jack Grealish has concrete possibilities to leave Manchester City in the summer transfer window, exploring opportunities for June, but also being left out of the squad in a crucial moment, final game of the season, competing for Champions League, is also a clear message. So my expectation is for Man City and Grealish to look for opportunities very soon and try to part ways in the summer transfer window.
What about Kyle Walker, who is coming back from AC Milan after another disappointing loan spell at the club, since AC Milan didn't qualify for European competition next season?
Yeah, also in this case, my expectation is for, and it's very clear also on club side, for Kyle Walker not to be part of Manchester City squad next season. with all respect for Kyle Walker, Man City believe that this fantastic chapter together, they won everything together. Kyle Walker has been a fantastic player in Man City history, but it's over. It's time to part ways. So let's see what happens with Milan. If maybe we'll try to renegotiate the deal or not. Maybe if they will try to find a solution to keep Kyle Walker. But in general, for Man City, this chapter is closed. So the player can find a solution. Milan, Saudi, whatever it is, Man City believe that they need a new player in that position. From what I'm hearing behind the scenes, the dream target is Tino Livramento at Newcastle, a player they consider fantastic and perfect for Pep Guardiola. But Newcastle, we know, are always tough when it's time to sell important players.
Last one for today is about Ansu Fati's future. What's happening with him and Barcelona?
Yeah, it's important to clarify also this story because in January, Ansu Fati had the possibility to leave Barcelona. From what I'm hearing, I can reveal something I think was never in the media. Rennes wanted to sign Ansu Fati in the January transfer window, and they almost had an agreement done with Barcelona, but not with the player. The player didn't give a green light. The player rejected many destinations, including something from Turkey. So from several conversations, he always said no. Then Barcelona decided to continue with Ansu Fati because the player didn't want to leave. Now, Monaco in France have an agreement in principle with Ansu Fati. That's the point. So Ansu Fati said yes to Monaco project. Now Monaco are working on a loan deal. Sorry, my phone is always ringing. Monaco are working on a loan deal with Barcelona with a buy option clause included, not mandatory, but with a huge sell-on clause included. So it's important to mention that Barcelona and Monaco are in advanced negotiations for Ansu Fati. This deal could be done soon because the player said yes. And so could be the first one to leave Barcelona in the summer transfer window.
Go to grab your call and talk to you
Exactly.
soon. Ciao.
Check you. Ciao, guys. Ciao, ciao, ciao.